Right, yeah. Well, let's see what we got going here. I don't know what order those spots came in, but we'll try to pick them up a little later and see if we're ahead of it or behind it. But right now, as promised, Mr. Comet, by golly. He is the sequel of Mr. Wowo, who would be Bob Severs. They almost look alike. Frig, you're better looking. Anyway, but Eddie was here tonight for a very momentous situation. For 43 years, he owned the Comet record for number of games played by a Fort Wayne player at 866. We're talking about it. Who would have thought 43 years ago that you'd be here tonight and have someone, especially at the minor league level, eclipse a record of that length? It's really different, Eddie, eh?
I never thought of that, Bob, and Guy made a good point that he really doesn't look at it right now, but when he retires, in 10 or 15 years, he really look back and say, wow. And it really just hit me kind of over the last 3 weeks or so about the record, because you really don't think about it till something's going to happen. And if anybody would break it, I mean, he amplifies what it is about being a person just not on the ice, but off the ice. I've heard in the community, he's very active like that too. I mean, and he comes to play every game, every shift, and every practice. He's the first guy on the ice and the last guy off the ice in practice. So, Guy is really deserving of this, and I hope it lasts for a long time.
Well, I can't conceivably see at this stage, and looking at who's in the wings and what will happen, that anyone in the history of Comet hockey could ever come close to this again. There may be somebody out there, but we haven't found him yet, Eddie.
Oh, I think you're right, Bob, and it's kind of interesting, too, if you take down the list. Guy's a defenseman. I played right wing. Then you had Pembroke was a defenseman, and then you had Lenny Thornton, a centerman, and Colin Jennings. So the first 5 guys with the all-time games kind of broken down into a team like that, too.
Yeah, really.
Which makes it kind of neat like that, too. And so I think you're right. I can't see it really, because you'd have to really. And how many guys are in the shape that he is in?
Oh, yeah.
The only other guy is the Shaft, the Russian, who's tremendous. The guy he's so smart with the puck. I think he outsmarts himself sometimes.
He does. He did tonight earlier, yeah. Yeah, he outpassed himself. Well, of course, the last time we saw Eddie on ice, he was playing against the Detroit Red Wings. It was the alumni crew. You have fun that night?
Oh, yeah, Bob. It really brought back a lot of memories. I mean, playing against the Red Wings like that, too, because these guys are really, I think they play 25 games a year, because I was listening to you on the radio. I think, Dennis, you're talking to Dennis Stahl, which comes from a great hockey family. I mean, going back in the generation to generation to generation. I don't know whether it was his brother or his cousin played for Philadelphia, the goaltender like that, too. And he was, I think, the first one to get a goal from his own net all the way down to the other end.
Yeah, right.
So, I mean, I really feel what the Red Wings do reminds me when we played Gordie Howe and Del Vecchio when our good friend John Bowie Ferguson came in and played for us, and we played the Maple Leafs. So, no, I think we should try to do it. If the Rockies are great people, about maybe every 2 years, not for me, but for the guys that live here. We got about 75, 80 guys that make their home here. So,
well, you look at the history of this hockey club that began with Ray and Ernie and Marty. And it struggled along because the people who loved what they were doing didn't know what they were doing. They got into a disastrous situation. Enter the savior of Fort Wayne hockey, Kenny Elliott. He put it back on a basis of professionalism totally. And also at that time, suddenly the whole complexion of being a Comet changed. And there was no more kind of easy goal, let's have some fun. Man, it was grinded out. If you're going to play, buddy, you're going to give me all you got. Not only on the ice, but off the ice. He and Colin changed the image and I thought upgraded the quality of the teams and the people that came here. And they set a style that slipped a little bit for a while, but the Frankies have come back and nobody can do it better.
You're right, Bob, but Ken and Colin did a tremendous job like that, too. In fact, Ken called me before I came in here tonight to congratulate Guy, which I did like that, too, on breaking on the record for games played like that, too, and that. So it's really kind of a thing. And Ken really was I felt that Ken, he could go, I'm going to 25 coaches in the world, and he would be in the top 25. He was a brilliant psychologist. We had 75 different exercises. Every exercise we had to do was, what am I going to do when I get the puck? Now, he made the game simple, not complex like that, too.
Yeah.
Then we had one exercise we used to call Chase the Rabbit.
Yeah.
Well, I'm telling you, no matter how many games you won, we'd still chase the rabbit on Monday morning. But I asked him one question one time. We won 10 in a row. I said, how come we're practicing harder than if we lost? He said, because there's nothing really to say when you win, so I got to say something.
No, there were some strange things. One night Eddie was playing, and Eddie was the only guy that was having any success. Kenny lights into him in the dressing room, and everybody else is going, holy crow, what's wrong with this? Poor Eddie's done it all. And Eddie himself didn't understand it for a minute, but suddenly he realized Ken caught the attention of everybody else, and they turned their game around to help you.
You know, Bob, and it's interesting, you talked about my dad many times.
Yeah.
My dad was always a gentleman in respect. When somebody's chewing all over you, don't retaliate right away. Wait till there's another time to say it. Because you're not going to make any sense out of it. So I learned that from my dad. So anytime Ken would jump on me, you know, I would go out and do my job, and then I would ask him, you know, down the road, what did you do that for? And he would say, well, you're the only guy working out there. I said, thank you. He always had an honest answer, really. And Colin did a great job. I mean, they were involved in the community, park board hockey out there. I remember when we coached park board hockey, it was open air out there on a Monday night, and the wind would be coming across from Oxford Street, and it was cold.
And all the players would have a team.
You're right. And we were out there, and it was really, really, you know, fun. But Ken, every practice was interesting.
Yeah.
Really, what I liked about it, like Ant, too. And we played with 12 guys. That was the league limit. When Fergie played here, you know, in that 59-60 team, 4 guys went to the NHL. They all didn't stay there, but I mean, you had Madigan, you had Ronson, you had Rupp, and you had, well, John Bowie Ferguson, who you want to talk about a tough guy. I don't mean fighting. I mean John in the corner. He got 33 goals here that first year, and in his book, Thunder and Lightning, he said the toughest team he ever had to make was the Fort Wayne College.
That's right. First half of the year, he had 2 goals, and I think Kenny told him, Fergie, I didn't hire you to be a debater. You're either going to get tough and make your way, or... And Fergie not only got tough, but he found the net. And when he cut off that left wing to the goal, goaltender was dead. Get out of my way.
And can you believe it, Bob? I had the smallest nose in that line. You had McCusker and Ferguson.
Yeah, you're not kidding. Holy.
You could hide in the shadow. Couldn't I? Yeah. That's what I used to do and get my goals.
A great bunch of players.
Yes.
You know, we could sit here and start going on memories, folks. The heck with a hockey game. We could fill an awful lot of time. But, Eddie, I know it was an emotional and fulfilling night for you tonight to see a guy of Guy's caliber come up with that record. If anybody was deserving of grabbing it from you, you couldn't find a finer gentleman or better citizen than Guy Dupuis.
No, you really couldn't, because he amplifies he's a real gentleman. I mean, I played the game kind of the opposite way. I was pretty mean out there, and not dirty, but I was mean. But Guy can really keep his cool. And anybody can keep their cool, I give him a lot of credit. I tell you, a great example of coolness was Lenny Thornton.
Oh,
and he was strong. And Lenny was a strong guy. I mean, he could take care of himself. He had it. No one had to take care of Red, but I'm telling you, he was so strong. I think he could carry 3 guys on his back going to score a goal. I mean, he was strong.
I remember once in a while somebody would take a run at Lenny and bounce off. He'd take the number, and all of a sudden he'd got the guy where he wanted him. When he hit him, he just, boom, gone, baby, count the lights.
But Lenny really, really could get that puck, I mean, as far as this, I mean, and go. The other thing, Lenny, when I was coaching, I said, Lenny, shoot the puck. You got a great shot. You got to come in, shake hands with the goals, and have the cup of coffee. Then, well, he reminds me of the Russian. You know,
yeah,
he's a great hockey player, but he wants to make that one more pass.
One more, yeah. He got the kick out of that. Well, Ed, I'm pleased that you're up, and I'm pleased for our friendship over the many years. And I know Guy will wear the mantle with pride and with humility. And thanks for coming by, buddy.
You're welcome, Bob.
Have a good one, eh? You too. Eddie Long, my guest, and of course, he's the old owner of that big record 866. We'll be back ready to go with period number 2 in a moment on ESPN. It's coming.